Listen, your first $1,000 will change your life now more than your first $10,000. Now, I've been managing money since I was 16 and I remember exactly what changed when I hit my first $1,000. So I'm breaking down the 4 ways $1,000 changes everything and why this number is your real foundation. The first way is purely psychological. The moment I hit $1,000 in my savings account, something shifted in my brain that I wasn't expecting. I remember the exact moment it happened. I was sitting down in my office and I just, decided to check my account. And there it was, $1,000. I mean, like for the first time in my life, I saw 4 digits in my account. Not $9.99, not $9.50, but $1,000. And I know this sounds ridiculous, but seeing that comma in my account felt like I was crossing to a completely different world. Because here's what I realized. Every number before $1,000 felt temporary. When I had $200, I knew one unexpected expense could wipe it out. $500, that could disappear if my laptop got damaged. $800, though I was getting closer, but it still felt like I was just getting started. But $1,000, that felt permanent. That felt real. It was the first time I actually believed that I could save money. See, before this moment, I had this thought or this voice in my head saying that I was just like everyone else my age, spending everything I had. I'd see people my age buying clothes every weekend, going out to restaurants, getting the latest phones the moment it dropped. And part of me thought I was weird trying to save. Maybe I was missing out on being young. Maybe I should just spend my money and enjoy life like everyone else. But hitting $1,000 completely flipped that script. Suddenly, I wasn't the weird kid who saved money. I was the smart kid who had money. It proved to me that I could actually do this thing that most people my age couldn't do. I could delay gratification, I could stick to a plan, and I could actually build something. And that confidence started bleeding into everything else. When there was pressure to spend money on stuff I didn't really want, I didn't feel guilty saying no anymore because I had proof that my way was working. I had $1,000 to prove it. This isn't just about the money, it's about your identity. Before $1,000, I saw myself as someone who was trying to save. After $1,000, I became someone who actually saves. And that shift in identity changes everything about how you make financial decisions. Because when you see yourself as someone who saves money, you start acting like someone who saves money. It becomes part of who you are. But having confidence is one thing. Actually being able to handle things yourself is another. Which leads us to the second way, independence. And I'm talking about real independence. Not just feeling like an adult, but actually being able to act like one. Before I had $1,000 saved, every unexpected expense was a family emergency.
We interrupt this program with breaking news.
My phone screen cracks, I would have to ask my mom to help me get it fixed. If I wanted to invest in myself, I had to look for someone who would lend me money till maybe I get my next paycheck. I was 17, 18 years old, trying to be an adult. But every time something went wrong, I had to run to my parents.
Goodness me.
And look, my parents were helpful. They never made me feel bad about asking. Maybe sometimes. But I felt bad about asking because deep down, I knew I wasn't really independent if I couldn't handle a $300 emergency. Then I hit $1,000 and everything changed. Recently, I found out that I owed $575 for soccer fees from last year. I thought the payment was covered by an organization, but apparently it wasn't. Old me would have immediately stressed out and gone to my parents to ask for help. But this time, I knew I could handle it myself. Damn! $575 is a big chunk of money to me, but I knew I had my foundation. No asking for help, no feeling like a burden. I can solve this myself like an actual adult. That feeling of being able to solve your own problems, it's addictive. This might sound small, but it isn't when you're still young. When you're 18, 19, 20, being able to handle unexpected expenses like this without asking for help. That's the difference between feeling like a kid and feeling like an adult. And here's what I learned about young adult emergencies. They are usually between $200 and $800. Unexpected bills, equipment breaking, or maybe you need something for school or work. Having $1,000 means you can basically handle any normal emergency that comes your way. But it's not just about the money. It's about the peace of mind. When you know you can handle most emergencies yourself, you stop walking around worried about what might go wrong. You stop feeling like you're one accident away from financial disaster.
Wow, this is a sobering reality.
And your relationship with your family changed too. My parents started treating me differently once they saw that I could handle my own emergencies. Conversations went from, "Dad, I need help," to, "Dad, this happened and I covered it." They started seeing me as responsible, more capable, because I was more responsible and more capable. $1,000 gave me the independence I actually needed to be independent. Now you think independence is the biggest change, but this next one surprised me the most, which leads us to our third way: how you make decisions about money. Before I had $1,000 saved, every spending decision felt like a risk. Should I buy this item? What if I need the money for something important later? Should I go out eating? What if something unexpected happens next week? Every purchase felt like I was gambling with my future, because I was living so close to zero that any money I spent could be money I desperately need later. So I made a lot of decisions based on fear. Fear that I'll run out of money. Fear that I'll need help. Fear that I'll regret spending. But once I hit $1,000, something interesting happened. I actually started making better decisions about money. Not because I was spending more, but because I was thinking more clearly. Let me give you an example. I wanted to join this half marathon challenge, and the registration fee plus proper running shoes would cost like around $200. Old me would have either said no immediately because I felt it was too expensive, or stressed out about spending that much money. But with $1,000 in my account, I could actually think whether I wanted to do it. Not whether I could afford it, but whether I actually wanted to spend the money on it. And I realized that this was something I genuinely wanted to try because it was my first half marathon. So I said yes. Not because I had extra money to waste, but because it was worth it to me. That's a completely different decision-making process. Before $1,000, my decisions were driven by fear and scarcity. After $1,000, my decisions were driven by value and preference. And here's the weird part. Having that safety net actually made me more careful with money, not less. Because when you're not scared of going broke, you can actually think about what's worth spending money on. I started asking better questions. Instead of, "Can I afford this?" I started asking, "Is this worth it?" Instead of, "Will this break my budget?" I started asking, "Will this add value to my life?" Instead of, "What if I need this money later?" I started asking, "What do I actually want?" And that led to much smarter spending. I stopped buying things just because they were cheap. I stopped avoiding things just because they cost money. I started being intentional about where my money went. Plus, I gained guilt-free spending power. When I decided something was worth it, I could buy it without the voice in my head saying, "You shouldn't be spending this."
Do me a favor, please. Get out of here.
Because I knew I had my foundation covered. I knew that spending like $30 on something I wanted wasn't going to ruin my financial future. Having $1,000 gave me permission to enjoy my money when I chose to spend it. But more importantly, it gave me the clarity to choose not to spend it when it wasn't worth it. Your decision making completely changes when you're not operating from a place of financial fear. You start making choices based on what you actually want, not what you are afraid of. And that leads to better decisions across the board. But everything I've shared so far is nothing compared to what happens next, which leads us to the fourth way: momentum. And this is where things get really exciting, because here's what nobody tells you about your first $1,000. It's not just about the money you saved, it's about the habits you built getting there. Let me break this down for you. My first $1,000 took me about 9 months to save. 9 months of checking my accounts regularly, saying no to things I wanted, putting money aside even when I didn't really want to sometimes. 9 months of learning how to budget, how to track my spending, how to resist impulse purchases. 9 months of building discipline I didn't know I had. It was hard, really hard. There were weeks where I wanted to give up and just spend everything. There were times where I thought this is just taking forever and maybe I should just enjoy my money. But I stuck with it and something amazing happened. By the time I hit $1,000, saving money had become automatic. I had built systems, I had built discipline, I had built habits, and now I have money automatically going into savings every month. The habits I built getting to my first $1,000, they are still working. Every month, money gets saved automatically. Not because I'm making more money than before, but because I already built the muscle. But it's not just about saving money faster. Having $1,000 opens up opportunities for bigger goals. Before $1,000, my financial goal was just don't go broke. After $1,000, I started thinking about real goals, like emergency fund, more room to invest in myself, and the tools that will get me closer to my goals. Your first $1,000 proves to you that bigger goals are possible. It gives you the confidence to think beyond just surviving paycheck to paycheck. And here's what I've realized. The skills you learn trying to save for your first $1,000 are the same skills you need for every other financial goal after that. Budgeting, discipline, consistent habits, delayed gratification. Your first $1,000 is like financial bootcamp. It teaches you basically everything you need to know about managing money. And once you graduate from that bootcamp, every financial goal after that becomes achievable because you've proven to yourself that you can do hard things. You've proven that you can stick to a plan even when it's difficult. You've proven that you can prioritize your future over your impulses. That's not just financial momentum, that's life momentum. So here's what I want you to do. Save your first $1,000. I know some of you are thinking, I have no idea how to actually do that. And I'm going to be making videos on this channel to help you figure that out. But until then, remember, the path is yours to walk. And as always, I'm in your corner rooting for you.